A medical center here in San Antonio is changing the lives of severely injured people from all across the country. We'll share the inspiring story of a soldier who's being treated at the Center for the Intrepid. The Trump administration's plan to revoke California's power to limit auto emissions could have implications right here at home. And people living in a local neighborhood want something done about groups of homeless people they say are taking over a lot behind their homes. Welcome to KSAT News at 9 from right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. In the wake of the two deadly shootings in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, a San Antonio City Councilman announced a series of town halls on gun violence to try to tackle that issue. Tonight, Manny Pelaez hosted the third and final town hall. The focus of tonight was all about public policy. Pelaez led a roundtable discussion with city leaders, including Mayor Ron Nierenberg, to talk about possible approaches for addressing gun violence and reducing the risk for mass shootings. Community members were allowed to ask questions directly to the panel. Some gave credit to city leaders for even starting this discussion.
We're hurting for it in our country and even in the city. You know, we need to have this conversation on a national level, but it starts local. It starts with where you are.
It's unclear how city leaders might move forward following this series of 3 town halls. Have you ever heard for the Center for the Intrepid at Brooke Army Medical Center? It's an incredible place where technologies are being used for rehabilitation, research, education, and training. Tiffany Huertas got a chance to see how the team there is changing lives, healing not only bodies, but spirits. Tiffany shares the story of a soldier who was inspired by the center not to let his injury define him.
The driver just lost control, the vehicle rolled over. I just flew, got projected out of the vehicle, I landed, and then it just landed right on top of me. I've tried to move to help, and I noticed that I can't move.
In December 2018, Army Specialist Christian Avila, a combat medic, was airlifted to a hospital in Germany. Days later, he was transferred to Fort Sam Houston.
So at the beginning, of course, I couldn't stand. I didn't have my prosthetic or anything. This was fresh, so it was very, very sore.
But Avila was determined to move forward. He began physical therapy at the Center for the Intrepid.
I come in here, the first thing I see is a double amputee climbing that rock wall. I'm like, what? That's possible. So it's really motivational.
Avila stood out in a good way.
Even in those early days with excruciating pain, he'd smile through it.
I guess between the environment and when you start seeing the process getting better, the support system here is awesome. Yeah, I just don't see a reason not to smile right now.
At this facility, they have physical therapists, mental health professionals, plus an entire team dedicated to creating prosthetic legs.
This is a hip socket for someone that's lost their leg at the hip. This is a generic running leg for sprinting.
Although there are days that are tougher than others, Avila says he continues to believe in himself.
It's okay to mourn, of course. It's like losing a brother or something, you know, but you just can't stay there. The world doesn't end there. There's so much things that you could do. Like, don't put yourself down, just push yourself.
Over the past 12 months, more than 1,000 patients have been helped out at the Center for the Intrepid. As for Avila, he wants to go back to school and continue learning. Myra?
That is an inspiring story. Thank you, Tiffany. Meantime, roughly 24 million Americans suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a big challenge for not only the patients, but also the doctors who are trying to treat them. Many of them experience insomnia, terrifying dreams, and other sleep problems.
They have lingering effects of the trauma that they experienced. So they will have flashbacks, they will have unwanted memories, they might have anxiety, irritability, depression associated with it.
There is actually some hope here with researchers investigating a drug called Tonmia. It's been a muscle relaxer used in the U.S. People who have taken it in trials have seen it to have deep and restorative sleep. This trial is in the 3rd phase. That's the last step before it could possibly get FDA approval. On our website tomorrow, we are actually hosting a live stream Q&A all about PTSD. We want to answer your questions. We are talking with a doctor who specializes in PTSD tomorrow on KSAT.com at 3 p.m. But if you have questions that you want to submit right now on our website, you can do so through the San Antonio questions section of KSAT.com. You might not be thinking about it right now, thinking perhaps it's a little too early, but flu season is right around the corner. And health experts are saying that now is the time to go ahead and get vaccinated. San Antonio Metro Health tried to set the example by setting up a pop-up clinic today for city staff and leaders. They say the flu season is so unpredictable, so best protection is to go ahead and get the vaccine. And of course, wash your hands so very often to protect yourself. Take a look at these numbers. Last year, there were 37 to 43 million flu illnesses in the U.S., according to the CDC, and between 36,000 and 61,000 possible flu-related deaths. A hit-and-run driver still out there tonight after killing a man, and his family wants that person to be caught. There's some new information on the case of a mechanic for an airline actually accused of trying to sabotage a plane. And right now, toxic smoke is covering parts of Indonesia. Here's tonight's 9 at 9. A local family is holding out hope that the person responsible for a deadly hit and run that killed their loved one will be caught.
My uncle didn't deserve that. I mean, he was everything. He was our charming armor person that we loved and we shared.
72-year-old Benito Blanquis died last month after he was hit by a car on Nogalitos.
Medina says with this case being unsolved, it's sort of like having an open wound for her and her family, one that she hopes will quickly heal.
A disturbing trend across America. Several teenagers have been arrested for threatening school shootings. 4 teens have been arrested in California, all accused of posting frightening messages on social media. Then in Oklahoma, an 18-year-old high school dropout was arrested for allegedly saying that she wanted to return to her former school to shoot 400 people for fun.
I'm elated right now that the threat has been eliminated, but on the other side, what could have happened?
Here at home, police say a man was shot on the northwest side after a woman asked him for help. Officers say the victim drove the woman to a vacant home on La Barca Street. That's when another man reportedly forced the victim into the back of his car and eventually shot him in the thigh. He was treated there at the scene. A federal judge in Florida denies bond for the American Airlines mechanic accused of trying to sabotage a jet. The man is accused of trying to damage a critical flight system of a jet taking off from Miami to the Bahamas back in July. Pilots aborted that flight and no one was hurt. Indonesia is dealing with massive wildfires across several areas of the country. The fires have been burning since July and have blanketed the region in thick, toxic smoke. Those fires have largely been started by farmers who set land on fire to make room for new crops. San Antonio police have arrested a suspected serial burglar. Officers caught Jason Fiala after receiving a Crime Stoppers tip.
The burglary he's being booked on happened here on the 500 block of Cedar back on September 6th, but police say they think there are more.
In Hong Kong, the Jockey Club has canceled its weekly races. The event is one of the city's biggest revenue generators. The cancellation comes after protesters threatened to disrupt the races. A Florida driver facing a DUI charge after crashing his truck into a gas station. That crash was caught on camera, and amazingly, no one here was hurt. The store was operating again a few hours after the crash. For the first time since 1925, UPS uniforms are getting a major redesign. The company's delivery workers will soon be able to wear pullover polo style or short sleeve shirts. Pants will also be less boxy. Baseball caps will be made from breezier mesh material. The uniforms will still be the signature brown. To read more about these 9 stories, go to ksat.com/news at 9. Right now in Houston, a scene like this, a waterlogged Bayou City. So much of that coastal area just getting doused by Imelda over these last couple of days, Katie.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting, it was almost best case scenario for the Houston metro area and Harris County, kind of the most populated area. They were expecting really bad flooding like what has happened down on the southeast Texas coast closer to Galveston. They have had several inches of rain in and around Harris County, but they were kind of prepping for worst case scenario, and it looks like they dodged that bullet. But it has been a busy day over in the Houston area with a ton of rain and even a tornado caught on camera, all thanks to now tropical depression Imelda. Winds are at 30 miles per hour now. Movement is off to the north at just 5 miles per hour. That's part of the issue here with the flooding. The system is moving slowly. We've got a lot of heavy rain bands off on the eastern and southeastern side of the system, still plaguing parts of southeast Texas with heavy rain tonight. Several flash flood warnings going east of the Houston area, off closer to Beaumont. I want to show you some of the storm reports from the past 12 hours. A lot of these icons indicate heavy rain and flooding, but you'll notice here several tornado reports east of downtown Houston, closer to areas like Bellevue and Anahuac. And this tornado was caught on camera. It was confirmed to be on the ground for a period of time. No injuries reported, and that's some good news. But that's always the kicker with tropical systems. You have the heavy rain, you have the storm surge impacts down on the coast, but tornadoes, also something to be concerned about with these tropical systems. And Houston has seen all of that. But look at the 48-hour precip radar estimates, the brighter colors, the purples, even trending into white there. That's where the heaviest and most rain has fallen over the past 48 hours, and it really is down on the coastal communities, including Galveston Island, and then also now building into far east Texas, places like Beaumont. Radar estimates that down near the coast, isolated rainfall totals of 15 to 16 inches of rain have fallen over the past couple of days. Near Galveston Island, close to 10 inches of rain. And then as you work back a bit farther inland, closer to the Houston, Harris County area, most places in that part of the county, especially the southern part of the county, have seen between about 3 and 8 inches of rain over the past couple of days. So they've been dealing with all of that. We were hoping that some of our communities, especially east of I-35, would be able to pick up maybe close to an inch of rain the past couple of days as some of those heavier showers wrapped around Imelda, but radar estimates that maybe a 1/10 of an inch of rain in some of our eastern communities today, maybe a 1/4 of an inch, and that's even being a little bit generous. So Imelda will continue to move north over the next couple of days. Still some energy from that system around tomorrow, and that'll give us a chance at some more isolated showers and non-severe storms Thursday afternoon. By Friday, a lot of that energy will be up in North Texas as Imelda continues to dissipate, and so I don't anticipate any rainfall issues for our Friday night football games, but we'll talk more in depth coming up, a little bit about more what I think we'll see tomorrow, because I do think some folks will have a chance to see a nice little healthy downpour for Thursday, and we've got some football games that get going Thursday evening, so we'll talk more about that forecast coming up.
I mean, if it can't be widespread, hopefully somebody gets something.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We need it.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Katie. You're watching KSAT News at 9. We'll be back in just 1 minute. People living in one Northeast Side neighborhood are hoping that the police can step in and help them out with what they say is a vacant lot being taken over by the homeless behind their homes. They say it's affecting their quality of life and also their home values. Neighbors tell us that the problem seems to get worse at night. One man said that 2 days ago, the problem reached a peak when one of the makeshift camps in that lot caught fire.
And I'm on my fence with the hose, trying to make sure that the fire did not get any closer to my fence and my house, but there was ash raining down all over my yard.
Neighbors have told us they also smell human waste in that vacant lot. San Antonio police say that before this week, they've had no reports of any problems in this area. But SAPD says that it is now monitoring this and they will help neighbors in any way possible. Let's turn now to some of the biggest stories people are talking about around America tonight. The Federal Reserve is cutting interest rates. The Fed's chairman says the move was made to keep the U.S. economy strong in the face of ongoing risks. This is the second cut since July. It comes as concerns over a potential global slowdown grow. Federal fund rates will go down a 1/4 percentage point to a range between 1.75 to 2%. President Donald Trump has named a new national security advisor. Robert O'Brien will take over for John Bolton. O'Brien has been serving as a special presidential envoy for hostage affairs at the State Department. The Senate does not have to confirm the national security advisor. A new study shows polluted air breathed in by pregnant women may actually reach their unborn children. Researchers at a university in Belgium found black carbon in the placentas of 25 non-smoking women after they gave birth. This leads them to believe those particles may have also reached the fetuses. Scientists have already established a link between air pollution and miscarriages, premature births, and low birth weights. Meteorologist Katie Blake back with us tonight. We are hoping for two big things, cool down and some rain. We really could use some rain.
Oh, I know, and I had hoped we would have gotten more the past few days because of that tropical system, but that didn't play out very well. And as far as the temperatures go, I have the answer coming up here in just a few seconds, but
your face says I'm gonna love it.
Hopefully. We'll see. Overnight tonight, we are looking at mostly clear skies. Did you notice this morning? I mean, it was a crystal clear sky to start the day today, and it felt pretty good for about 30 minutes, and then we really started to crank up the heat. But overnight, I expect skies to be mostly clear. On the warm side, our average low this time of year is down in the upper 60s. We're going to be in the mid to upper 70s tonight with a low around 76 in San Antonio. Tomorrow, another hot day, 97 for your high, so hot and humid, and a 30% chance for an afternoon shower or non-severe storm. We touched on this just a couple of minutes ago. The energy from Tropical Depression Imelda will be lifting north, but I do think there will be enough around tomorrow to produce some isolated showers and non-severe storms, generally along the I-10 and Highway 90 corridor and then points north. So if you have a football game to head to tomorrow evening, just keep that in mind. As we get into Friday, a lot of the energy from what was Imelda will be well to our north, but in the hill country for any football games, there could be an isolated shower there on Friday, but we are going to really start to trim back our rain chances as we get into the weekend. A stray shower possible on Saturday, and then looking dry next week, but also hot. And we've got fall officially kicking off on Monday. And I've had so many of you asking, where is the fall? Where is the cooler weather? Well, fall is not in Texas. I'm taking you even beyond the 7-day to 14 days out, and our temperatures are expected to stay above average, not only here in Texas, but also across a good part of the country. There will be a series of fronts up in the Pacific Northwest, keeping them below average temperature-wise, but for us, I'm expecting us to stay in the 90s for like the next 2 weeks. That's horrible. I'm sorry fall's not here, but at least we're not alone. Hopefully we'll get one of those fronts to get in here soon. We'll be back.
It's a move that critics have said will create less efficient cars and contribute to global warming. Today, President Donald Trump announced that his administration will revoke California's long-standing power to limit auto emissions. The president says that this will lead to cheaper cars for consumers and more cars being produced. Joining us now to talk about the implications of this decision, Washington Post environmental policy reporter Brady Dennis. First of all, Brady, thanks so much for being with us this evening. Let's start here. Why does California currently have its own authority to set auto emission standards?
Yeah, you know, this is a unique situation that goes back about half a century or so, and the government gave California the authority to set standards for cars that go beyond the federal government's, because back in that day, you know, pollution was so bad in California, smog was so bad that the state argued that it needed to be able to go beyond the federal standards in order to meet air quality standards. And so this waiver, as they call it, for California has existed for decades and decades through, you know, Republican and Democratic administrations. And if my memory serves me correct, I think it was even Ronald Reagan who initially signed off on it as governor of California. So It has a long history and for the most part, an uncontroversial history until now, of course.
We have seen the Trump administration roll back some other environmental protections in different areas. The reason we're talking about this one in California is because of the possible implications for the rest of the country. What are those looking like right now?
Well, when you talk about the rest of the country, I mean, you have California, which itself is the most populous state in the nation, so it's a huge car market by itself, but there are currently 13 other states, as well as the District of Columbia, that follow what California does with car emissions. If California, requires more efficient cars or other, pieces of regulation as it pertains to emissions of cars, these states follow along with it. And so at least what hypothetically could happen is kind of a fracture in the U.S. car market where there are different standards in different states, and consumers, for the most part, would not benefit for that. And certainly the automakers, the companies that manufacture cars, don't want that. They want one national standard that can be applied in all 50 states.
So what should we look forward to be happening next with this?
Well, on this week, with the Trump administration trying to strip California of its, waiver of its ability to set its own standards, I mean, the one thing we can bank on is a lot of litigation, and I think the next place this heads is the courtroom, because there seems to be no common ground here, no willingness to find a solution that both California can live with and the Trump administration can live with. And California, from the governor on down, has been adamant that they will sue over this attempt by the Trump administration. And so I think it could be a long, protracted legal battle, and that's probably not good for anyone, the car makers or consumers.
All right, so plenty more to come on this. Brady Dennis with the Washington Post, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Tourism numbers are up in San Antonio, and they appear to just keep on growing. That's according to Visit San Antonio, the city's visitor information center. They gave their annual State of Tourism meeting today an update. Visit San Antonio said the Alamo City is becoming one of the most popular places to visit in the entire country. They say 2 million more tourists visited in 2018 compared to the year before. And a lot of tourists are coming from other Texas cities.
More than 70% of our traffic is from inside the state of Texas. People drive to San Antonio, and it's a generational thing. They come and they bring their kids and grandkids. But what's great about it is the economic part of it. It drives more than $15 billion of economic impact to San Antonio every year.
And here's an interesting fact. According to Visit San Antonio, 1 in every 7 employed San Antonians works in the tourism and hospitality industry. Let's find out what's trending on KSAT.com right now with Ivan Herrera.
Myra, thank you for having me. All right, 3 great trending stories for you today. The first one is going to be kind of a throwback, but also kind of creepy. Some people might think this. Okay. I don't personally think this, but some people might. So Whitney Houston is going to have a hologram tour. It's going to be touring all over the country. I'm sorry, all over the world, not just the country.
Okay.
So it's going to hit cities all over the world next year. The show will be called An Evening with Whitney Houston, which is awesome.
Or her likeness.
So yeah, it's going to kick off in Mexico. It's going to wrap up in March 2020, and there's going to be some dates here in the U.S. Fans will be able to hear some of her best songs, I Will Always Love You, which is also it's originally Dolly, but
yes, Ivan and I need to clarify that this is originally a Dolly hit.
Popularized by Whitney Houston.
Thank you, Whitney, for taking it to the next level.
And I Want to Dance with Somebody, love that song, and The Greatest Love of All, and many, many more of her favorites. All right, this isn't the first time a hologram performance has happened, so they actually had Tupac in 2012 was in Coachella with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre.
I remember that, and there's been a couple of these hologram tours. How do you feel about them?
I'm not creeped out, but I think it's pretty cool. Honestly, it's like that person never really dies, but I like it.
It is a way to live eternally.
All right, more on KSAT.com. Next,
let us know what you think about
it. This is a funny one. A grandmother in Montana was given an unofficial honorary title of state trooper after she decided to take action to stop people who were speeding in front of her house. So what she did, she put herself on a lawn chair and got her hair dryer and used it as a, what are those called? Like a speed.
So it looked like a radar gun?
Yes, a radar gun. There you go. And so her son took a photo of her on duty, quotation marks if you can't see it, and the photo has been widely shared all over social media. A highway patrol trooper saw her, thought the idea was awesome, and he made her like an honorary.
This is a woman after my own
Yes.
heart.
And
That
if
is
you see the
amazing.
picture, it's so funny.
You know, in this day and age, I could have totally seen somebody like trying to say she
Yeah.
was impersonating an officer or something. She's just trying to do her part.
And she's
The
trying to slow
tools
people down.
in her bathroom cabinet.
Yes.
At her
All right.
disposal.
More on KSAT.com. You can actually see the video on there.
Okay.
So last one is bringing us back home for Fright Fest. For my favorite time of the year, Halloween. So Six Flags, they're going to have six participants, and they're all going to be chosen to compete in the Coffin Challenge. And if you haven't heard of this, let me tell you a little bit about it. So people basically get in the coffin. It's going to be October 4th at 5 p.m. and they're going to stay there until October 5th at 11 p.m.
No.
So one winner will take home $600 in cash. That's pretty good. 2 gold combo season passes to Six Flags, a Fright Fest prize pack that includes 2 VIP haunted house passes. Now, they do get to go to the bathroom. They do get to eat, which is great, but they'll be getting random visits from the Fright Fest freaks. So they're gonna get some scares in there, but I think overall it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So
for them.
lid on the coffin, like the whole, I mean,
It's gonna be closed.
the whole
But they
simulation.
do get breaks. So, but still, it's pretty scary, in my
All right.
opinion. You can see all the rules and everything on KSAT.com.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody out there who wants to do it.
At least 6 people will be.
It's not me.
Not me either.
No.
Thank you for having me, Myra.
Thanks, Ivan. We'll be right back.
This is your Daily Tech and Business Briefing from Cheddar. Facebook launching the Portal TV, a connected webcam that also turns your TV into a smart display. The devices come despite a muted response to its original standalone Portal display. Facebook is also facing criticism over privacy and extremism on its platform, and most recently in questioning from the Senate. Plus, Starbucks in Japan is letting customers pay with an NFC-enabled pen called Starbucks Touch the Pen. Unwieldy name aside, the pen connects to a reloadable digital wallet and will also write with coffee-colored ink. The pen is going to launch in Japan on September 25th. And New Mexico wants to make all 29 of its in-state public colleges free for New Mexico residents, regardless of income. The state's Democratic governor plans to use increased oil revenues to cover the cost, which would be about $25 to $35 million a year. That would just be tuition. It would not include other costs like books or housing. A year of tuition to the flagship University of New Mexico currently costs about $7,500 a year for in-state students. And that's your Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Kristen Scholler from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Thanks so much for watching KSAT News at 9. That's all our time tonight. I'm Myra Arthur, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Have a great night.